Thank you, Honorable Daniel Stanley, Deputy Minister of Information for Public Affairs, and let me recognize Honorable Johnny Takwa, the Acting Minister, Acting Minister of Information. You know, we're thinking about how do we call you now? Is it the Ministry of Information and Culture or Ministry of Information? Given that the tourism has left your shop, so you have to update our file. That's what I have to call it. But please extend to your minister, the Honorable Geraldine Matthew Pierre, our regards, that you will host us here, and we promise to be good tenants.
You've always been one.
And let me again thank you for the rehabilitation and the upgrades that we've seen at the ministry. About a year ago, this was not the case, and that you've proven to be good managers of the little money we can give you. Just by this, we see it. And we budget us. There are a lot of ways that we see evidence of usage of money. And my folks are here, I know they are taking notes.
Yeah, they're taking notes.
But let me introduce the team that is here with me. On my immediate left is the Honorable James Doba Jala, Commissioner General of the Liberia Revenue Authority. He is the real Maradona, working with his team, working with us to make things happen. The Commissioner Jala has come, and there will be moments when he will come up to give you some specifics. I also want to recognize the Deputy Minister for Budget and Planning at the Ministry of Finance, the Honorable Daniel Bronson, assisted by the Assistant Minister for Budget, the Honorable Sarah Magay Mulba. We have a lot of technical folks from the NRA and the Ministry of Finance here present. We've come to engage with you briefly, but we'll also be engaging with you deeply after today, because the budget is out. And in the context of open budget conversation, we make ourselves available to talk shows and many other interactions. So see this as the just on the surface conversation. We have invitations. I personally will honor some. Some will be Commissioner Jala and the team. As the budget is being discussed, we'll be available to give you more clarity. As you all know, on Friday, the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Joseph Jomo Boakai, submitted the draft national budget to the legislature. I, as Minister of Finance, was the instrument through which it was submitted on behalf of the President. I submitted the budget in the tune of 1.211 billion to the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Richard Langwe-Koon. As I told the Speaker, until you got the budget, we're not going to unveil all the details. We immediately, working with our team in the context of open budget, we've published the budget on our website. And let me thank members of the press and individual and press citizens. I've been distributing the budget around, and we see that a lot of people have become budget analysts, which is very good for the society. Very good. The budget is an open document. And I think our transparency rating will go up The budget, the total revenue estimate is US 1.211 billion and comprises domestic revenue of 1.13 billion United States dollars, which is 94% of the total. This is significant because domestic revenue has reached 94% of our projection. This is on account of the country doing more for itself. An external resource envelope of 72 million, which is just 6% of the budget. Domestic revenue will be raised from the following sources: tax revenue, 797 million, non-tax revenue, 585 million, including a 200 million signature bonus expected when or if the Metal concession agreement, extended concession agreement is ratified by the legislature. We also have the contingent revenue of 28 million. Domestic revenue estimates exceed the fiscal 2025 budget by 47%, or by US $333 million. I need to say that we have increased what we call the public sector investment program. The public sector investment program grows from 107 million this year to 281 million for 2026, and out of which 200 million comes from the expected signature bonus from Metal, and all that amount has been dedicated to projects, transformative projects. 100 million of that amount goes to our two top priorities, which we consider the two top constraints to growth in our country. That is energy and road infrastructure. So, of the Metal sign-on bonus, we've added additional 100 million, 50 million for roads, additional to what we already have for roads, which I think is 59 million, and then another 50 million for energy, specifically going to the Liberia Electricity Corporation to improve energy access. We do smart metering to ensure stable electricity during the dry season, to expand electricity to reduce the cost. And we've given more money to frontier counties that operate within the working corridor of Metal, that is Nimba, Grand Bassa, and Bong. In addition to all the other funds they receive, we have added additional 15 million to them. And we've given, educational institutions, including the University of Liberia. We've also given funds to the judiciary to aid the expansion, construction of courts, and to digitize the records, and I will go on and on. But overall, the budget has increased, but some other things have also increased. One thing I need to tell you about is debt. Liberia's debt burden, the total debt stock is about 2.7 billion, and as we contract debt, we need to pay debt. So, as a responsible government, we cannot we cannot just turn our eyes away from debt service obligation. Debt service, as a portion of the budget, is increasing. Last year, we budgeted, I think, around 150 million for debt service. This year, in this budget, we're talking about $230 million for debt service. $230 million for debt service. Well, there's not a demonized debt because, as you all know, people trying to engage in productive investment want to go to banks and others to credit. This is the same thing. The issue is how you use the debt. So we are engaging in what we call, we have a debt management strategy, making sure that all new debt debts contracted are going to yield significant social and economic returns so as to expand GDP and make our debt to GDP ratio to really come down. So I need to say that a good portion of this budget is occupied by debt service also. We are intervening in some sectors. In the coming year, the government has decided to take up the burdens, some of the burdens at Weah Hospital. Weah Hospital is a private hospital, but the service it is giving is public. And that we cannot sit down and allow the hospital to go under. So one of the measures that have been taken is that the salaries of health workers at Weah Hospital will be bankrolled by government beginning next year to keep the hospital afloat. If we don't do that, that critical facility will be history. And that we are going to subsidize the not only Weah Hospital. Next year, they're going to be dedicated a new redemption hospital. This budget incorporates funds for the staff, additional staff, and to keep the hospital afloat. I think the dedication may take place in January or February. We also are giving some top-ups to special engineers in this budget. More than 200 engineers will be hired by the Ministry of Public Works, and we've checked, and that we've projected amounts that engineers in this budget will see some top-ups. Among the list of other institutions, especially revenue-generating entities, including the LRA, we have to be capacitated to raise the budget. The budget is a plan. To actualize the plan, there must be work, there must be sweat. And that we try to be faithful to all those that will be generating the resources that we need to put into public service and for development. And so, we are also incentivizing transparency institutions to make sure that they can deal with some of the challenges they face, operational, but to incentivize their staff. I think what we've done, we have reached a point where we say the LACC will be at pre-harmonization level. And we're not stopping there. GAC too is going to benefit from some injections in order to bolster the ability to incentivize staff. And I told you about the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency in some institutions. The budget is a plan. I know that hearing 1.2 billion made some people nervous. But we are not nervous men and women. We are people who act meticulously. And let me say that thanks to the effort of not only the LRA, but every one of us, my folks at the Ministry of Finance and folks across government and partners in progress. Last year was a tough year, but last year ended well. Last year was the first year that domestic revenue were able to raise nearly almost 700 billion in domestic revenue as a country. Last year. So let me thank profusely the LRA Commissioner General and all others who worked to make that happen. So, and let me dispel the notion that last year ended with a shortfall. No, there was no shortfall last year. And this year there will be no shortfall. We know we began the year with some turbulence when we had the USAID aid cut, which hit us hard because USAID next to the World Bank, you know, USAID was our second largest donor next to the World Bank. And that out of 29 projects funded by USAID, only 5 projects have been retained. In terms of aid loss, more than 300 million. It came as a shock. People predicted doom. The first quarter was rocky. And that the doomsayer said that the sky will collapse on our heads. But as I usually say, and as I said then, this ship is being captained by an experienced captain. The captain of this ship is President Joseph Juma Boakai. He's a good captain. As I said then, and I repeat, good captains don't tell you that there will be no turbulence. Good captains know how to navigate or pilot the plane to destination in spite of turbulence. So there was turbulence. But as we say, and let me say this, and as I said then, the result of a football game is not determined after 30 minutes of the game. It's after 90 minutes and you got an injury time? Extra time. That's the time you know the result. So it's at the end of the year, results are given. Someone can fly high first semester and fail at the end of the year. So someone can fail first semester and pass at the end of the year. So we are on course. Let me thank everyone. Everyone. It's not only revenue generators, folks at the Ministry of Finance, across government, the President, the Ministry of State, Public Works, and others. We at the Ministry of Finance will take our role to be like, as I said, we are the heart. You know, we form the God. Our duty is to make sure that the key executors get the resources. Sometimes there are challenges, and that, but by and large, we are happy that everyone is working impatiently because the President is impatient. He wants things done, and he wants things done now. So what I can assure you is that next year will be better. From where I sit and what I see, too many good things are happening. Too many good things will happen. The budget is going to deliver a whole lot of goodies. So they're going to be, for business people, when you hear about almost $300 million in a public sector investment program, those are contracts, jobs, opportunities. And we are not going to stop. If you net out the metal 200 million, the budget is about 1.11 billion, right? 1.011 billion. So with or without metal, we are above $1 billion. I need to stress that. So, and I don't think that Mr. Jara, myself, and others intend to take back steps. So we can only move forward with the support, the guidance of the president and everyone, you know. So we are going to do more. We're going to stretch more. The budget is out. It's time for public debate. We do not claim perfection. The legislators will do their part. They represent all of us. All of us are from constituencies. So there's going to be some back and forthing. And then the budget will be approved. So this is a democratic process. Those that have issues, they raise those issues. And then those issues will be mediated in the process. Hopefully, we hope that the budget can be passed before the start of the fiscal year, just as it was done last year. We submitted the budget this year, almost, the budget was submitted on the 18th of November last year. This year on the 7th. So we wanted to give the legislature more time to go through the instruments. So let me stop here. I know some of you have questions. The Commissioner General is here to help to answer some of the questions. But maybe before I can allow and open up for questions, let me allow the Commissioner General of the LRA to just make a quick 1 or 2 minute statement, and then we'll open ourselves up and receive questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Minister actually spoke on all the issues, but actually one or two things I just want to lay some emphasis on. And he mentioned about our performance last year. I know there has been a lot of things circulating, social media and elsewhere, about underperformance last year. That is not true. You all recall that we had a press conference after we met our target and we informed the country about it. Subsequently, we have subsequent engagements with the media and informed the country that we had actually overperformed our last year's target by almost $10 million. And that's what the minister just recounted. So instead of the $690 million target that we had to collect in domestic resources last year, we were able to collect almost $700 million. So nearly $10 million above target. And we're also hearing detractors, naysayers, and smearmongers that there is underperformance this year. That is also not true. And the minister emphasized that. I'd just like to reiterate. In the first quarter of this year, we did have some revenue collection challenges. And it's important for us to grab everything in context. Last year, there were some policy reforms that should have taken effect this year. Those reforms were enacted into law, passed by the legislature during the budget process. And before the implementation could start, it was months later in the fiscal year. Even though the budget, in carrying the budget, the assumptions are actually assumed that the collections would have started in January. And because of the late start in implementing those policies, we missed out on collecting the revenue that should have been collected much earlier from January. And that's why we didn't perform well in the first quarter. But as we stand, we have collected, I think, about 78%, thereabouts, of the revenue. So the picture I want to give you is that despite the difficulty we had in the first quarter, by end of October, we have actually averaged $67 million, 67 point something million in collection per month over the last 10 months. And what is left now for November and December is an average of 62 million. So if you look at an average performance of $67 million a month, compared to a target of an average of $62 million a month, then clearly it shows to you scientifically that we are on course to meet our target of $804 million this year. So we will meet our target. There is no if and but or and about that. As a matter of fact, to help to curb some of this misinformation, disinformation in the public space, we have worked and developed a public portal where we are reporting in real time our collection numbers. We're about to launch that. We'll be extending an invitation to all of you in the media to come to LRA so you can join us in launching this platform. Once we launch that platform, each of you will be able to just go to that website, and as we collect the money on a daily basis, you will actually see the numbers changing. It will be in near real time. As soon as the amount collected hits our reporting system, you'll be able to see it on the website. We hope we can do this so that once and for all, we can all see the performance as we're progressing. But I want to assure the Liberian people that we are on course with this year's collection, and we are set to meet our target, if not exceed it again like we did last year. For next year, there are a couple of strategies we have in mind to really be able to achieve the $1 billion. But before I go into the strategies, some of the strategies, just highlights of them for now. I just like to lay emphasis on the fact I saw one newspaper caption that Liberia hits historic, $1 billion mark, as a result of ArcelorMittal's signature bonus. I mean, something to that effect. That's not an exact quote. And I just smiled when I saw that headline this morning. So the minister mentioned that just before he left. Let me just lay some emphasis. The signature bonus from ArcelorMittal is $200 million. The budget for this year is 1.211, right, Sarah? Is 1.211 billion. So 200 million is 0.2 billion. If you subtracted that from the 1.211, you're getting 1.011 billion. So it means that even if we didn't have the $200 million signature bonus from ArcelorMittal, this next year was already earmarked to be our year of the billion. The ArcelorMittal 200 million just added more flavor, to our position, because we were just barely going to cross the $1 billion mark for next year from our projections. Now we are crossing it, finishing much, in much more grandeur, so to speak. So we are set to raise the billion, and next year will be Liberia's year of the billion. And after next year, we want to continue to work so that we can continue to increase the revenue. It is really very important to have this in context. Our national development agenda requires us to raise about $1.4 billion a year to fund the development agenda. For the past year, and up to this year, we haven't been able to do that. So it's important that we continue to strive so that we can increase the revenue, because if we don't raise the revenue, particularly locally, we might not be able to implement some of the lofty projects in the development plan. And it's really an imperative that we all must work together. So before you start to ask a question, let me make one appeal to you. We all have to do this together. Revenue collection, especially for next year, is going to be daunting. It's going to be challenging. But this same Liberia that defeated Ebola, this same Liberia that survived nearly 2 decades of civil war, carnage, mayhem, and destruction, this same Liberia that overcame COVID, this same Liberia, my firm belief is that if we all work together, $1 billion will be nothing with our collective effort. So we want to ask all of you in the media to work with us, because creating awareness for tax compliance is really very important to the target that we have to do to be able to raise these billions so that our country can see the kind of development we can see our neighbors and others are undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come.
So with those, the hall is crowded. We have a full house here. We'll take the questions in segments to allow our guests the latitude to adequately respond. So you can take the first 5.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. My name is Strogon Kama and I work for the VN News Liberia. Like the CG said in his section that the development agenda, Liberia needs about $8 billion for implementation. And this new budget, about 23% of this new budget will go to the PSRP, and then 76 of this new budget, according to your own budget, 76 will be recurrent expenditures and all of that. In the next 5 years, is this AARD achievable with trying to allocate just 23% of $1 billion each year to the development of the country? Say, achievable that. And B, what new resource stream or resource strategy the LRA has been able to, implement or maybe mobilize to be able to generate such a huge revenue that they were not able to do it over the past years? Thank you.
Next question. Thank you. My name is Desmond Weah. I report for Democracy Watch newspaper. Thanks to the minister. My question is agriculture. President Weah calls agriculture as the engine of growth in his arrest agenda, making it the first bill. Yet, the 2026 draft budget gives only 13.66 million, which is a gross reduction from over 15 million from fiscal year 2025, constituting about 1.1% of the targeted of the total budget being required in the tune of 1.211 billion. So my question is, how? Meanwhile, the NSA gets about 22 million for the same budget that when you have agriculture getting 13 million. In the NSA budget, you also have special budget that goes extra money to the President's intelligence services, the SIN services that has been rendered by the NSA in the tune of 220,000. So how can the government justify the gross reduction in agriculture from 15 million of 2025 budget year to now 13 million? And what more can the government say in terms of spending more salaries on government officials than spending more on farmers? And what does this say about the real priorities when the president sees agriculture as the most critical, or better still, essential driving tools for food security and national development? And lastly, what is our country's current GDP status?
Thank you. My name is Weah Phillips, and just to follow up with that question of emphasis, my name is Weah Phillips, and I'm from the Liberia newspaper. The government of Liberia takes agriculture in the rest agenda as the first pillar. The agriculture ministry is having a program to cultivate about 50,000 hectares of land, lowland rice, for rice production in Liberia, so as to make Liberia to import less rice by 70% by 2029. Because for now, according to the statistics, Liberia import about 70% of the rice they eat. Now this budget, 2026, has about 9 million for the agricultural sector. Specifically, just 4 million towards other implementation projects, about 5 million plus to give them the government. If agriculture is the first pillar of this government on the arrest agenda, can we succeed in agriculture from now to 2029? Considering that for every year in 2027, the budget for agriculture will also drop again from 9 million to 7 million. Can we succeed in having Liberians sustain herself self-sufficiently, especially in rice production? And the next question has to do with civil servants. We see the roads to be built, you see the hospitals, you also see that few other civil servants, doctors, nurses, maybe say engineers now will be included. We also have the sweeper, who say maybe less than 100 hours. What plan do you have for civil servants in this budget 2026? Thank you.
Yeah, the two.
My name is Joseph Salif, and I am a Liberian journalist. My question goes to the Minister of Finance. Road is critical, and few months back, we heard about yellow machines being brought into the country to eat into this road issues that we have in our country. Mr. Minister, is there any current information as it relates to the yellow machines being captured under this budget? Because you guys are heavily investing into roads, and I believe that having the yellow machines in our country will help in aiding the damaged road in our country. What's the current information as it relates to that? Thank you.
We're gonna with you, but
Mr. Gafwan, my name is Arthur B. and I report for Prime FM. Let me start from my house, City House, the media. In this, we talk about a little over $230 billion for debt service. Is the media capture, particularly because you own the media for like to be very clear. So I'd like to get a guarantee from you on the Liberian media. The next thing is that the asset recovery, is it in an oversight or what? Is that intentional, or is it intentional to not capture the asset recovery tax force in this year's budget? They are on the upfront to recover assets. Lastly, I think you talk about budget shortfall, and there will be no budget shortfall. But in plain terms or guarantee, can you show to the Liberian people that this $1.2 billion budget, the money will be raised, where particularly we think with the resources domestically, how much we tend to raise domestically, how much?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the question. Let me start with asset recovery. Did I hear you say that asset recovery was not captured? Yeah. Say it was not captured?
You did not mention it.
The budget is a 700-page book. Can I mention everything? You want me to hold you hostage? So everything, when you say it was not captured, I mean, I didn't say it, or from your...
you didn't project it.
I didn't project it. Have you read the budget?
LSCC, you increase LSCC budget.
Listen,
GSC.
I like the literacy that is going on. You know, I like the interest. Sometimes the budget appears complex. And let me say that the asset recovery is in the budget. We've allocated 2.3 million. It's in the budget. So that's it, it's there. You can quote me on that. Media debt. So your police were here when I was addressing Aja. I made a commitment that the media business is also a private sector business. Media entities are small businesses that need to thrive. And the worst that we would do as a government is not to pay for your service. So the first commitment I have made is that current service that you are performing, then we will try as much as possible to be current. I've mandated my director for communications, Madam Patience Penny Kumen. I'm repeating it here that she should liaise with all of you who have performed services for government entities. Let's get the information in advance, and that we have a special tracking scheme at the ministry, or mechanism at the ministry, to make sure that whatever service you perform for government, we will pay. We don't want to owe you. First thing, commitment from this government. Then we'll deal with the humongous debt from the past. We have started to pay media debt. Last, I think, about a month ago or so, after, but you must be validated, confirmed by the GSC. I have intentions to pay people. But if the Auditor General says that the claim is bogus, I cannot pay you. So those who have been validated, we started to pay. We pay almost $176,000 2 weeks ago. Some of your colleagues got money, but although you know in this environment, people don't let them declare when it gets money. So I wouldn't call their names here. I would not call their name. We intend to continue on that. And I mean it passionately. The best thing we can do is to make sure that when we owe you as a government, we will not suffocate your business. And so she is here, and get her contact, and whatever, especially current year, all current year obligations, 2025, let us know and we'll ensure that we don't carry into domestic debt. We don't want to. The 2025 obligations to the media must be paid. And we'll work on that. Someone talked about pay increases. I didn't tell you that public officials, government officials, police, did I announce any pay increase? No. Let me say that although we're talking about $1 billion, the challenges are still very humongous. So, and we are paying debt. On the list of obligations we have to pay as a government is obligation to the Central Bank of Liberia. We have too many streams of resources that we have to give back to the central bank in terms of settling our arrears or our debt situation. And the central bank, one of the obligations we have, one of our debt service requirements, and we are negotiating with them because the 230 are even announced that we put in the budget is somewhat lower than the entire obligation. The entire debt service burning for next year is almost 300 million. We are trying to renegotiate some because to put 300 million or more in the budget just on debt will have crowded out spending to a lot of critical sectors. So, under the central bank's obligation for even next year, this year we're paying the central bank $16 million. $16 million, you know for what? You heard about an $83 million loan that was taken by the past administration. $83 million loan to pay civil service, I think, for the month of November and December 2023. Yes. Think about that. $16 million we have to put in this budget and pay the central bank to want the payment of that. And we have to again budget another $16 million in this budget to pay. So we're dealing with past problems as we are dealing with current challenges. So that's why we are topping up. We started, with some sectors, the health sector, go and see what has happened in terms of remuneration before this government came in and why it is. Have we reached our target in most of those sectors? No, but we are gradually moving. So that's why we announced like the LACC have reached pre-harmonization levels. The judiciary, they started last year, we gave them more money. We gave some more money to the GAC, the LDEA, critical service, the fight against drugs. Very critical. So we're looking at those. Engineers are being historically underpaid across the government. So everywhere we have engineers in the government, we are increasing, we are talking them up. Yes, if we had the wiggle room, we would do for everyone, but every year we are talking up. And we haven't talked up political expertise. Let me stress that. There's another question about agriculture. A series of agriculturalists I have some questions. I love your passion for agriculture.
Fight against hunger.
One of the things I need to inform you is that the government's budget is part of the resource flow that comes for development. And development money does not only pass through the budget. We negotiate funding support to many sectors. And I was telling you about debt, right? Most of the financing we receive from the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and others are not grants. They are loans, although very concessional. Now you must get concerned about how the debt service burden has gone so high. It is not that people have been contracting what we call odious debt. No, most of the debt, a good portion, comes from external financing from the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and others that are financing development. Well, we have to pay. Over time, these entities have been financing. That's why when I say it's the government project, that's what we mean. So our people love to credit those projects to partners. But most of those projects are our projects because although you hear about the partner support, when the government pays back, at the World Bank, you get a 40-year repayment period, but you must pay. So all these World Bank projects, they contain, we hear grants. They will have some grants, we projected some grants coming in for next year, 20 million, above 20 million from the EU, that's great. But when you don't hear grants, it is financing or loan, although very concessional, meaning you're going to take longer time to pay, low interest, but you must pay. So over time, the repayment burden on government has been increasing, and it is such that it's about 300 million for next year. The year thereafter, it will also increase. But that should not be a problem if we expand the GDP, because as it grows, if we expand revenue, it becomes less of an issue. You see us investing heavily in roads, in energy. It is deliberate, it's intentional. Because the quickest way we can turn around the economy and put it on a productive path is to deal with these two constraints to growth. These two constraints, lack of energy access, has been identified as one of the impediments to growth and job creation. Because with more energy, businesses will thrive, they will expand, they will employ. So we deliberate. Why are we dealing with roads? Now people can move from here and go to Weah in no time. What is happening to the productive capacity of farmers across the chain? They can bring their goods and services, they can bring their goods to market without it getting rotting because of being stuck on the road for 1 week. So we're going to do more in roads. We're going to do more in energy, and we do all others. Most of the other sectors will depend on these two big movers. So it's not a competition between energy and agriculture. Agriculture depends on energy, agriculture depends on roads. So when we find out that through some partners, we have mobilized some funds for some sector, we don't necessarily give too much of the funds on budget to those sectors. It doesn't mean that in aggregate, that sector is being deprived. I repeat, we have donor flows and we also have things coming online. I don't want to preempt, but maybe we'll be announcing a good news very soon. And that will be good amount of money. And so when we have expectations, and we also know that there are current flows going to the sector, those that don't normally get external funding and depend primarily on government, we give them support. So we look at things panoramically. So I love your concern for agriculture, but agriculture will never be left behind. On the issue of recurring costs, the percentage of recurrent to PSRP, and I need to clarify this, I said it the last time, me and my folks were trying to see how we explain this better. It is not, we should not demonize expenditure just because it's called recurrent. I gave you this. Annual budget has grown from a little over 33 million to 40 million in this budget. Right? Now, in the new budget, we added additional 6 million, I think, in PSRP for some projects at the university. Most of the funding we send to the university goes for salary, to fund teachers. Can we say that that amount of money is waste of money because it's called recurrent? Keeping teachers in classroom, although you call it recurrent, but it's developmental. They are developing the country. So don't demonize recurrent just because you see recurrent. And some of the donor projects that are not on budget, the donors will be taking the capital aspect of it, and the recurrent burden, they say, government, you have to take it up. So government's burden on the recurrent side will go up in order to enable a development expenditure. But as I said, we are out. There will be a lot of engagement, and it will help budget literacy. Let me call the Commissioner General. There was something you raised concerning sources. I think we'll give you some details.
Thank you once again. I think the question will have to do with how come we jumping so widely and whether we'll be able to collect. But before we jump to that, please permit me to just provide some clarification on the question that was asked regarding the requirement of funding the AAID. Because I think the premise was kind of flawed and it needs to be corrected. The $8 billion that is budgeted to fund the AAID actually includes recurring budget and non-recurring budget. So this is the point we need to be very clear. So when you see that a certain percentage of the budget is on recurrent, it doesn't mean that our recurrent portion of the budget is not funding AAID. Because those of us who work in government, our salaries are paid from the recurrent portion of the budget. Would you then say that we're not contributing towards implementing the AID? Of course we are. The example that the minister just gave regarding the professors at LU. By the nature of the services that some entities provide, their expenditure, in its nature, has to be recurrent. Take the Auditor General's work, the General Auditing Commission work, for instance. All of what they do is recurrent. But they're also contributing towards the achievement of the development agenda. So it's important to understand, I hope the person who asked the question can understand that the $8 billion costed for the AID implementation actually includes the recurrent component of the annual budget every year carrying forward. But the point you make is really valid because we have now, next year we'll grow the budget from what it has been, 800 plus million, to 1 billion, 1.2 billion in change. The question is, we still have a small gap there. We still have a gap because on average between now and the end of the term, it's about 1.4 billion that we need to raise. So that's why you hear me keep emphasizing that yes, 1.2 billion is good, but we still need to be able to step it up some more. And this is what we'll be working together on collectively. You in the media have a part to play and we'll continue to engage with you to be able to do that. There was a question on how much of this 1.2 billion is going to be domestic resource. It's going to be 1.139 billion is what we will have to generate internally from local sources, because in this year's budget, 72 million is coming from external. including the one from the EU that the minister just spoke about. We are also getting some support from the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and so on and so forth. So all of that will accumulate to 72 million. So if you subtract 72 million from the 1.2 billion, the rest of it is what we are taxed to collect domestically. And that domestic collection includes the 200 million from ArcelorMittal, which is already a given. Once the agreement gets ratified by the legislature, Liberia would have earned that 200 million. So if you subtract that from the remainder, our target is actually 939 million that we need to collect, to be able to attain the next year's budget. And is this a jump compared to previous years? I just asked my team and they just sent me what has been the historical performance over the years, and let me just give you those numbers to help put all of this in context, especially for those who are concerned that this may appear to be a utopian idea, which is not. Last year's budget was 690 million, and then we were able to do 698, almost 700 million. This year is 804. Domestic, just domestic. This is only on domestic revenue. The year before that, that is in 2023, the total collection was 611 million. Okay, let me go 1 year before to 2022. 2022, we did 614 million as a country. 2023, we did 611 million, it dipped a little. And then in 2024, we jumped back up to 698. This year, we've gone to 804. All these numbers I'm reading are in millions, and they're all for domestic revenue. So from 804 now, we're going to 1.1 billion. So is it possible? The answer is yes. And some of the strategies that we are going to implement is just leveraging technology, working collaboratively with those of you in the media, creating a lot of public awareness. That's why you recall that we had a section with some media practitioners, and we have a couple more before the year ends, so that we can work with the media to be able to create a level of awareness that we need. This is really very important for tax collection purposes because it will increase compliance. So we want to roll out our our electronic system across the country. We also have an electronic system for custom. It's called Asafuda. We are in the process of rolling these out to all of our ports around the country. Then our tax system is called LITAS, the Liberia Integrated Tax Administration System. The plan is to roll out LITAS to all 15 counties everywhere where we have LRA offices, so we can be able to do real-time collection. At a press conference here a couple of months ago, I informed the media and the public that we are also rolling out electronic fiscal devices. This is going to be a game changer, because what that's going to do is that every time you go to a shop, or you go to a supermarket, or you go to a hotel, we are working with these businesses. Once it is rolled out, the systems we'll be using to do the cash management and the sales and service provision will be linked to LRA systems. So we'll be able to see the transactions in real time. That will give us not only give us greater visibility, but some of the problems we've been grappled with in terms of under-declaration of revenues that we collect, those things will be resolved. We are currently implementing our technology with the different telcos. We work with Lone Star, Cellcom. We're also working with the mobile money operators, and soon we'll start to work with the gaming operators, so that the monies they collect, every time somebody tap off the data, for instance, if you bought $5 data or you bought $5 crash card, when you infuse that onto your phone or onto your gadget, we should be able to see it in real time. So we are working on all of that. And once these things, we're hoping that these things will come online in full swing next year. Once that happens, it's going to expand our resource base. So in short, what we are doing is just leveraging technology to create greater efficiency in the system, and then it will help to curb a lot of the leakages. We think that if we were to work together to curb the leakages within the system, so that the monies that people are paying, the monies that people are required to pay, if they pay them and all of it goes to government, we think that we can do far better than even this projection that we have for 2026. And we think that subsequent years, you'll see that revenue will pick up some more. But again, I'd like to emphasize, this is something we must do together, because the awareness part is where you come in. So we'll be working with you to ensure that we can create the necessary awareness for our people to become compliant, and through compliance, we can actually raise this revenue in our home. Thank you.
Someone asked about yellow machine. Who asked the yellow? Do you have a yellow coat? Sorry, just joke. No, let me say this. We started already. In this year, we budgeted for some payments toward the financing of the yellow machine. Financing is being taken from the bank. The government pays over time. We made some payments this year, and next year's budget has accommodated payments towards that. I'm told that the procurement process is on. Let me allow the Board of Ministers to give you the good news, but we're on track. We can have, John McDonald for that. But we're on track. Whatever that is needed, budget-wise, they have it, and we have it.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Let me say good afternoon, the Honorable Minister and the CG of the LRA. My name is Stephen Sompon, and I report for the Liberia News Agency. This afternoon, my attention has been drawn to climate change. The issue of climate change is something that is affecting almost every country around the world. And Liberia being a more vulnerable country to climate change, other plans, adaptation, or what is the specific line items in the 2026 national budget that talk about climate change adaptation and mitigation. And also are there plans to reach out to other international partners to ensure that funding come to this country to affect climate change. And lastly, there is this issue that is in the public space about the increment in the budget of the House Speaker and the entire legislature. Don't you think these monies will be allotted to schools and medicines for children in rural and vulnerable communities? Thank you.
Mr. Kalfama is Simano Upuri, and I work for Inside Liberia. You have emphasized the increment of the budget, something that is welcoming for all Liberians. But one of the critical things that you mentioned is that, huge amount of such money has been allocated for debt services. Liberia, we are bringing the issue of debt. Liberians, especially in the rural, don't know how many institutions or country we owe currently, and how much do we owe? How many countries or institutions do we owe? And the money that have been allocated for debt services, what is the strategy that will be used in order that these debts will be paid, so that after this administration, Liberia will not still be wallowing in the issue of debt and all of that? Thank you so much.
Minister, my name is Joseph David, and I write for the Mississippi newspaper. My question has to do with what key performance indicator will be used to measure the successful implementation of the 2026 budget, or how in how often will this result be put to the public?
Good afternoon. I'm Asiami calling from ELBC. The government arrest agenda pillars include agriculture, roads, rule of law, education, sanitation, and tourism. Can you provide a clear percentage-based breakdown of the 2026 budget that show how much is directly allotted to each of these pillars of gravity's area of investment? Thank you.
We've got the last set of questions, right? Yeah.
My team is here, they may come and give some details on some of the questions. On debt service, and I think I need to talk more on that. We should not demonize debt. And I'll make it simple. Many persons here will want to go and take loans from a bank, right? To do what? Some want to go and build houses, put in business. The money you're going to take from the bank is cash. But it depends on how you use the money. If you use the money productively, debt becomes a blessing. If you use the money unproductively, debt becomes a problem. So the fact that our debt burden has increased is not necessarily the problem. It's an issue of how are we using the debt. So, like some of the funding that we are using for the road from here to Harper, the pavement, and people have it? Yes, we have contracted, we have attracted funding from the African Development Bank, the World Bank, the government resources. Now, the funding that we've attracted over time, they are all in loan category. Although very concessional. When we say concessional, it means long time to pay. The World Bank, the ADB stuff, nothing less than 30 years. You know, and then the interest rate very low. So it's the great portion of the loan is very high. But you have to pay. You've been here with World Bank financing over time, right? So when the people bring the interest on us, principal pays on us, they say, oh no, we can't pay. In fact, if you don't pay, they have a time. They can sanction the country. You heard before that the World Bank has sanctioned Liberia for non-payment of its obligation. You heard it, right? So, in the law, the law says that the first claim on revenue is debt service. Actually, you go to the PFM law, it means we should take, before we divide any money to anybody for anything, we should take all those we owe and we should pay them. That's what the law says. That's what the law says. So debt is not necessarily the problem. That's why in the strategy going forward, we implementing a prudent debt management strategy. We not just want to be taking debt. We're going to be asking ourselves that if you want to take this money, how much would this money help you? Where are we putting the money? We're not just putting the money for consumption. We're putting the money to productive services. Because you can take debt, increase the GDP. GDP is the base, you know, meaning it's like increasing government profitability. The same way a business person can go and take debt, get profitable, and pay back that loan. So it depends on how it's used. We talk about media debt. We don't want to owe media. That history of government not paying you, want to put it in the back. So this year, everything that is owed you hasn't entered the debt category yet. We don't want you to make that transition to debt for this year, as we deal with the problem of last year. So I wanted to stress that. Oh, look, well, it is not for us to come and speak so much for all the entities of government, but from the information we get, we budget accordingly. We're increasing the judiciary budget by about 7.6 million. The judiciary. And a good portion of that goes to PSRP. The legislature budget is being increased by, I think, 7.4, a little under the judiciary. A good portion is for rehabilitation and some project-related works at the legislature. So there were some lines at the legislature, including, cleaning services and stationery, and a lot of other things that are critical for legislative work that was underfunded. And so they made the case to the budget committee, and the budget committee accommodated the request. Reporting on performance, the law requires that we make quarterly report, and we've been making a report. So that's how we report on the performance of this budget. So after the first quarter, in April, I think yes, in April we'll report on the performance of this budget. And then the mid-year report will be given. So the law requires us to report and we'll report accordingly. So in terms of what we allotted for climate change and whatever, well, you get the entities, but there are some projects in the budget. You know, we do what we call counterpart funding. There is a UNDP project that we are funding. It has to do with coastal defense. Coastal defense for Newtown, and West Point. I think when we put our money in, I think we're going to put not less than 400,000 in it. You know, that project has been slow. The counterparts are giving, if I'm not mistaken, something around 20 million for that project. So, but besides that, there are a lot of other activities we are funding in terms of solar energy through the RREA. Some projects are on budget, some are not on budget. You know that the RREA has been going around putting lights all around the country. We also have a project through with the EU, Light Up the Southeast project. You know about that? We are lighting up cities in the Southeast, harnessing the power of hydro and others. I think the counties that are benefiting, if I'm not mistaken, I think we have Sino County, Grand Coup. Through the ADB, we're also lighting up river sets. Some of those that are from there can testify that some of those counties are lighted up. So there'll be more lights. There will be more boutiques, you know, that will be happening in all the sectors, energy. But the main sector that benefits from increase is infrastructure and basic services, especially roads and energy. And we are deliberate about that. Thank you.
Many thanks to Minister Gafuan and the Honorable Commissioner General of the LRA. Your explanation was very detailed, and we're very certain that it has benefited the Liberian people, the general public listening to you. The budget is currently before the legislature. I don't know what the next step. You want to lay out the next step?
How do you intend to work Congress 2026?
Okay, today was part of the next step, coming to the mutual information and meeting honorable members of the press. The budget is out there. Budget debate is on. We following the debate, and we're encouraged by the inputs that are coming up. Some positive, some negative, but that shows the democratic credentials of the country. The budget now, with the people's legislature, elected legislature, they are the ones to review the budget and amend the budget and approve the budget. So they're going to be the legislature through its Ways and Means committees of both houses. I think they are prepared to work like a joint Ways, Means, and budget committee. They're going to be budget hearings. You know about budget hearings. Members of the press, you guys follow that, where we are called to talk about it at the macro level, at the NA level, me, Commissioner Jai and others. But then entities go and defend their budget. We're giving budgets to entities. So if you are Ministry X or Agency X, you go and defend your budget to the legislature. If someone has issue with you being increased, or whether someone has issue with you not having what you think you want, you know, they can go and advocate at the legislature. So there's going to be some back and forth in here. And at the end of the day, the budget will accommodate the concerns, and hopefully, we hope that the budget can be passed before the start of the budget year January request. So that's an idea as to how the process will proceed. So now, look at the legislature and find the schedule of engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next step has been laid out. We will be looking at the legislature.
So,
The joint committee of which means financial budget and the finance the budget hearing. I want to thank to all of you members of the press for the time. This is now our regular press briefing. You came in your numbers to cover this event. It shows the interest you have in our national development drive. And also we thank the team for the Minister of Finance and LRA for the on that note, we want to draw the press conference to a close. Tomorrow we'll have here the